Everybody wants some. Yeah, start. Put up your video, put up your mic, please. Can somebody stand in? Can someone stand in and please chair this session, please? Thank you.
Good afternoon. I believe you can hear me. Good afternoon. I'm Omowumi Dowu from Ekiti State University, and I'm standing on behalf of the chairman. I want to welcome us to this 2022 LSA conference. And before us, we have four panelists who are to present. We have the first panel person around. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Do we have the first panelist around? In person of Florence Adeyemi Fumilayo. Is she around? Is she around? Okay. This is followed by myself, Omowumi Dowu. Can I present now?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Can you see my slide?
Yes,
Good afternoon.
Can.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
I'm Omowumi Dowu from Ekiti State University, and I'm presenting the topic titled Gender and Labor in African Economic Development. I feel there is need for me to explain the contextual meaning or the contextual and scope of this particular topic that I have before me. Gender here, I'm trying to refer to female labor force participation, and I'm trying to look at the relationship between female labor force participation and economic development, using the theory propounded by Gordon Claudine in 1990, popularly known as U-shaped hypothesis. And I have West Africa country, that's my scope. I selected 4 countries from West African country, and my selection of countries is guided by World Bank Population Bureau's 2015. As we proceed, we'll see more of this. The background of the study. Female labor force participation is an important driver of growth and development. Globally, women represent half of the world population, yet what they contribute to the economic activities and economic growth is not a good reflection of their number in the economy. And though women participation in the labor force varies across countries, reflecting disparity in economic development, culture, and ideology, reflecting their norms and education level, fertility rates, access to childcare, and other supportive services. However, women are underrepresented in the formal sector while they dominate the informal sector. Globalization and modern day economy has led to structural shift from agrarian economy to an industrial economy, and about 75 to 90% of women are found in non-agricultural employment, which are less illuminated. 9 out of 10 of women working in sub-Saharan Africa are in the informal sector, and they are seen as mostly likely to be employed as contributing family worker than male, implying that they are often unpaid and exploited. In West Africa, according to the World Population Data Sheet 2015, Togo has the highest gender ratio of labor participation. This is followed by Sierra Leone. While the lowest was found in Mauritania. Nigeria was found in the middle with about 0.76. A ratio greater than 1 actually shows that women ratio is greater than that of female ratio is greater than that of male ratio. Why a ratio less than 1 show that male dominates. Then increasing women economic participation creates multiplier effects on productivity, efficiency, and sustained economic growth. Children welfare in poor household improve better when women have in their possession wealth, according to what has been observed by East and Young 2011 from Bangladesh, Brazil, Kenya, and South Africa. Moreover, the survival probability of a child increases by 20% when income is in women's hand, because most of us as women, what take paramount in our heart is what are we going to give these children in terms of nutritional needs, the quality education they are going to have, and by so doing this, actually improve or propel, provide a kind of springboard for family to actually move out of poverty, and it bridges the gap, the gender gap, thereby contributing greatly to the overall economy. Statement of the problem. In Africa, women constitute a great spring of manpower to sustainable development and are therefore a powerful but untapped economic resources given our population. In spite of programs geared towards improving female economic involvement, there seems to be no or little improvement in Africa, particularly Western Africa between the period 1990 to 2020. As the gender gap in labor is still obvious. Some of these programs are SIDA, Maputo, and none of these have actually been able to have a significant impact on female labor participation. There are several factors that could be responsible for low or stop female labor participation in Africa. These are low level of education attainment and skills, reproductive function of women, which actually coincides with their productive years, non-availability of childcare facilities, and all forms of discrimination against women. Other reasons have also been suggested for lower female participation in Africa. These have their roots in culture, religious values, and norms. Nevertheless, while this value may have affected the region, social and legal convention, it is intuitive to say that they are directly responsible for gender differences in economic inclusion. The relationship between female labor participation and this factor can be explained with the U-shaped hypothesis as propounded by Donny Claude in 1990. The theory stipulates that there's a U-shaped relationship between female labor force participation and log of GDP per capita. As you can see, female labor participation lies on the vertical axis, while we have the log of capital on the horizontal axis. At the early stage of economic development, when income are very low and agriculture dominates, women are in the labor force to a great extent because what they get as remuneration is very low, and because at that time the fertility is still high, and they can actually combine child rearing with their economic activities. As the economy becomes richer, the structure of the economy shifts towards industrial production, and a formal sector-based economy emerges. Thus, income rises in most countries, often because of the expansion of the market of introduction of new technology. Hence, female labor participation falls because women at that point in time do not have the required skills or education attainment to actually enter the labor force. But as the country develops further, female labor participation increases once again. You can see the rising trend going upward again due to improvements in female education. This is what the U-shaped hypothesis actually states. This study is quite important as female labor participation is a driver of growth and also indicates a country potential to grow rapidly. It is also an issue for research because in many developed countries, female labor participation is a coping mechanism by household in response to macroeconomic shocks. Hence, this study investigates the following: is the U-shaped hypothesis valid for selected West African countries? What are the supply determinants of female labor force participation in selected West African countries? What factors account for country-specific distribution of female labor force participation in West African countries? I've been talking about female labor force participation. What is female labor force participation itself? It's a proportion of the female population that are actively engaged in the country. This is the justification of the study. For the scope of the study is most of the time in economy we make use of secondary data, collected data from World Bank, IMF. But for my own, for this particular study, data are collected from World Bank Development Indicator, and it's really between 1990 to 2020. I selected 4 countries from West African countries, and the selected countries are Mauritania, Togo, Nigeria, and Ghana. Theoretical review. There are basically 3 theories that actually talks about the relationship between female labor participation and economic development. We have the emancipation hypothesis. The emancipation hypothesis states that as there is industrialization as there is introdustrialization, patriarchy ideology disintegrates such that female labor participation will increase. Then we have the Constantine hypothesis. This says that women actually work, but there is no data to actually cover most of their activities. And as a result, they are underrated, they are undervalued. Hello? Togo has the highest gender ratio of labor force participation, while Mauritania has the lowest. Then I have Nigeria, which is closer to the middle with 0.76. And I chose Ghana as the fourth country to Nigeria with highest population. Can you still hear me? Can I continue? In economy, there are some statistical. Okay, thank you. There are some statistical procedures that need to be followed, which I also followed. I did unit 2 test, then I did bank constitution test, then I have these results. We have the correlation matrix. We look at the correlation matrix. The load of GDP capita is negatively related with supply of female labor participation in selected West African countries. Then we have the static analysis. I don't want to bore with that, but we can see for the beta 1 is negative, and for beta 2 is it's positive. Beta 1 is log of GDP per capita. Beta 2 is log of GDP per capita square. And the one that are asterisks are significant, where the one that are not asterisks are not significant. So in respect of this, log of GDP per capita and is square, the two of them shows that there's a U-shaped relationship between female labor participation in selected West African countries, and we have fertility to be negative, total unemployment also to be negative, while urbanization and female education are found insignificant. Then I did the dynamic analysis. I did country-specific analysis for each of the country. For each of the country, I have in the long run, Nigeria and Togo have inverted U-shape. Instead of it to be U-shape, they have something inverted U-shape. You can see instead of this one to be negative, it is positive. This one is supposed to be positive, it is negative. The same thing applies to Togo. While in Ghana, there's a U-shape relationship evidence found. Let me just go to discussion of findings. The estimate from who effect indicate the existence of U-shaped relationship between female labor participation and economic development in selected West African country, as we can see in slide 19. Fertility and total unemployment are negatively related with female labor participation, labor supply, meaning that as fertility increases in these countries, female labor participation drops. This means that women actually give priority to child rearing instead of going out of their home to work outside. As their fertility increases, they stay at home. They withdraw their services from outside. As unemployment also, there's a negative relationship between unemployment, total unemployment, and female labor participation. That means as total unemployment increases, it starts to have a discouraging effect on female in looking for job. However, female education and urbanization are found insignificant. Then the result of both estimates confirm that the existence of U-shaped relationship between female labor participation and economic development is found in Ghana, while there's inverted U-shape, as I said, in Nigeria and Togo. And Mauritania lack this evidence. We couldn't actually see any evidence of U-shaped relationship between female labor participation and economic development. The implication of the inverted U-shape in Nigeria and Togo in the long run is that at the initiation of the economy, female labor force increases upward, and As the economy progresses, female labor force reaches the peak and later drops. Then this implies that growth in the economy of Nigeria and Togo is not driven by formal sector, in which female needs to be engaged in to be able to drive the upward trend of the U-shape. Estimates on Mauritania, on the other hand, show no evidence of U-shape between the supply of female labor participation and economic development, both in the short and the long run. Furthermore, female education is not significant in all the country except Togo, and it is positive both in the short run and long run. So no matter the amount of education that female they have, it has nothing to do with their female with their labor participation, except in Togo, which is found to be positive. That means as female increase their education level, female labor force participation increases. That means the opportunity cost of not working becomes higher when you have the certificates. This implies that the opportunity of not working becomes higher as female gets more educated. I've explained that total unemployment is not significant both in the short run and the long run for all the countries except Ghana, and this is found positive. Total unemployment has a worker encouraging effect on female labor participation, and an increase in total unemployment increases female labor participation. Females see the need to supply their labor as the number of people looking for paid job increases. That's in Ghana. Also, urbanization is a significant factor that determines female labor participation in Mauritania. In conclusion, I therefore conclude that there's a U-shaped relationship between female labor participation and economic development in selected West African countries, where there is an evidence of U-shape in Ghana. There is an inverted U-shape between female labor participation and economic development in Nigeria and Togo in the long run. Fertility, unemployment are significant determinants of female labor participation in selected West African countries within the period under study. Policy recommendation. Also try to sensitize private organization, industry, and labor employer on the importance of women in the economy. Lastly, early marriage and fertility among female should be discouraged. Early marriage should be discouraged. Thank you.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation, please let us turn on our cameras so that we can grab a picture. And for each presenter, you will have just 15 minutes after now so that we can keep to time. Thank you. Over to you, Maumi. You can call the next panelist to start his presentation. Thank you. Please unmute yourself, Maumi. Thank you.
Fumilayo Florence Adeyemi.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Please, you can go on. Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. This afternoon, I'll be talking about wealth potentials in agricultural waste. Briefly, let's go through it. We have it as from introduction that waste is generally described. Sorry, I don't have it on a slide because I had a network problems in my system here. So let's continue this way. Waste is generally described as an unwanted material for the person who discards it, a product or material that does not have a value anymore for the first users and is therefore thrown away. That's generally what people refer to as waste. However, the term unwanted is subjected, and the waste could have value for another person in a different circumstance. or even in a different culture. Now, in the context of integrated solid waste management, waste is regarded both as valueless and as a useful material, providing a potential source of income. The real value of waste in many low and middle income countries is confirmed by the huge informal sector that lives on waste collection and its recovery. Due to social and environmental consequences, waste reuse, recycle, and recovery has become essential in minimizing the environmental damage that could occur through indiscriminate waste. Nigeria has focused essentially on consensualized waste recycling as an approach to urban management and livelihood. Unfortunately, solid waste management appear to have received little attention from Nigeria social scientists, especially from the viewpoint of socially related Millennium Development Goals. Environmental concern and sustainable development are germane to MDGs, that's Millennium Development Goals, which make an investigation in how wealth generated from waste helps in sustainable environmental management and appropriate subjects of inquiry. Now, for waste collection, we have different ways by which waste can be collected and converted into. Agricultural waste can be converted into different forms which are beneficial to reduce pollution and also to provide wealth. Some method of conversion based on end-to-end products are given below. One, we have conversion of agricultural waste to animal feeds. Then converting agricultural waste to fuel. Then conversion of agricultural waste to organic manure. Then converting agricultural waste to cash. Then there are stages involved in the agricultural waste management. The stages are one, production stage. This stage encompasses the function of the amount of the nature of agricultural waste generated by an agricultural enterprise. Then we also have the collection stage. This is the stage at which the initial capture and the gathering of the waste from the point of origin or deposition to a collection point. The storage stage. This refers to temporary containment of waste that gives the management control over the scheduling and timing of system functions. Now, the treatment of waste. Waste are treated at this stage to reduce the pollution potentials of waste, including physical, biological, and chemical treatment. Transfer stage. This stage involves the movement and transportation of accumulated waste from collection points to storage facilities, to treatment facilities, and to utilization stage. Utilization stage. This stage further utilizes the segregated waste materials, which include recycling, reclaiming agro waste, and reviving non-reusable waste products into the environment. I quickly want to go through the statements of research problems. We have it that, just briefly, because of the time, that the process of conversion of waste to products that can be put to primary use can be viewed as process of generating wealth. Hence, the phrase waste to wealth. Waste to wealth has been used as a concept to address the environmental problems by changing the traditional view of waste as an end product to be disposed of. Raising of environmental awareness and turning it into potential value as seems to be a big problem for the world. Given the magnitude of waste generated, innovative waste conversion process can create micro-entrepreneur on an enormous scale. The potential to is enterprise is very high. Increasing opportunities for this enterprise can have assorted advantage. It can bring back useless and discarded waste products into economic use and lead to a reduction of pressure preceded by waste on the environment, creation of opportunities for livelihood generation in a relatively new area, thereby enhance physical activity and impact quality of life. It is known that there have been some local methods by which solid waste were being reused and recycled. The knowledge of waste reuse and recycling might not be totally new in the Nigerian context. Rather, it is the current sophistication involved that is rather new. Waste facilities in developing countries are minimal, but substantial quantities are diverted for recycling. So there was this reuse culture that has implanted into every Nigerian subconsciously. That is, every item used was structured reuse. Even till today, the set of pure water are used multicolorist for flower nursery and paper wrappers are reused. The reuse tradition is what makes old newspaper useful for wrapping roasted groundnuts and popcorn, as well as using it to wrap gifts, apart from the fact that the reuse culture saves a lot of money, it resulting in management. In spite of these enormous benefits associated with sustainable agricultural waste management strategies such as reuse and recycling, only a handful of countries are able to put them into practice. For instance, most of the economically developed countries are still unable to recycle much of their waste. Besides, growing land scarcity and stricter environmental standards now make it difficult for many rich cities to find adequate and suitable disposal sites they are wasted by their urban population. So this research is aimed at demonstrating that waste to wealth has multiple socioeconomic and environmental benefits, yet it has not been systematically examined into details. Then conclusion, rather than leaving this waste material to constitute pollutants and other hazards in the environment, their proper processing could have enormous potentials for conversion into useful products of high value, such as being raw materials for other industries or for use, feed, or for fuel. Thank you. Thank you. Over to you, Ms. Omomido. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, the next person is Chikezering Nwoke. Is that one?
He's not here. He's not here. Let's go to the next person.
Okay. The next person, yeah, Matthew Ochada Igwe is presenting digital economy and unemployment in Africa. Are you there?
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Ochada Igwe. It's an opportunity to be in your presence this afternoon or this evening. First and foremost, let me share my screen and can you all see my screen?
Okay.
Can you all see my screen? Okay. Like as I say, first and foremost, it's an opportunity to be in your presence this afternoon to present in the 6th annual Lagos Association conference. This is my first time of presenting, and this is my first time of even coming online in this platform. I will be presenting today on the emergence of digital economy and unemployment nexus, a study of some selected African countries' experiences and way forward for teeming population. In recent time, of course, we all are aware that there is what we call digital disruption or digital innovation, where there are so many platforms coming up every day, year in, year out, and there are so many things coming up, so many in the banking field, for example, in along Africa, especially in Nigeria, so many people, they've been laid off because of what the effect of digitalization is doing in the banking field. You see e-payment system coming up and a whole lot of people in the banking sector, they are losing up their job regularly. Beside that, again, you also go to other platforms where others, they are getting or gaining more employment offer through different platforms like eBay, Amazon, Alibaba, and some other freelancing websites like Upwork.com, peopleperhours.com, and the rest. So what I'm trying to discuss this evening is the opportunities that that digitalization or the digital economy offer, and also the disadvantages or it's also offered to people who are not skilled enough to be able to tap into this vast economy. Of course, the digitalization has taken over the place of Africa, and today in Nigeria, for example, is among the leading country that actually have the digital aspect in terms of being able to harness digital opportunities, because so many of Nigeria's and other African economy today, they are participating in some platform like maybe Google Digital Africa and some other platform. But why am I actually interested in this particular topic? I am interested in this particular topic because year in, year out, graduates, they keep on turning on graduates, and most workers in the organization today, they are actually not employing these people because of the IT knowledge, which is actually not available to most of the employee or most of those students that they've graduated, and they need jobs up and down, but then they have no relevant skills. As a result of that, they have been disenfranchised, or they have been disadvantaged from the opportunities or the opportunities that technologies offers to the teeming population. Of course, the African population keep on growing, and regardless of the fact that it keep on growing, what the implication for each and every one of us is that there are vast markets coming up every day for each and every one of us that live in Africa, and we must tap into this vast technology. In terms of this thing, despite this potential that this technology brings to us, of course, we are aware that in terms of demand and supply gap, Africa, we are lagging behind in the sense that there are no adequate skills that will be able to bring about innovation, critical thinking, and problem solving in terms of technological usage. And because of that reason, unemployment rates among some of those African countries has been growing. Like Nigeria today, we talk about graduate unemployment or total unemployment rate, we are talking about 33.3%, and some other African countries where I am focusing my research on. That is why, because of the problem of unemployment in the economy, and also because of the fact that people actually, after graduating, they needed jobs, they needed to actually be employed, even though in a smaller scale basis where they could actually make earning for themselves, and they need to tap into this technological platform that digital economy has been able to bring to us as a whole. And that is why the objective of my study would be to determine if internet penetration and broadband accessibility affect unemployment level in African countries, in some selected African countries, and also to examine the effect of fixed effect adoption, growth, and revenue of mobile brand on employment creation. These are the two things I want to juxtapose both employment and unemployment, the effect of digitalization on that. And some of the selected African countries that I have picked for this to study is they are generally Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, and Egypt. Why I pick those countries is due to the fact that in recent time, these countries, they are one of the leading, or they are the leading countries in Africa with technological innovations and the rest. And now let me move down to population. Why we need to tap, or why as a nation or as a country or as a continent we need to actually look into digitalization today. According to the World Bank indices, Nigeria is talking about 206 million population, followed by Ethiopia, Egypt, Congo, South Africa, Tanzania, Kenya, Ghana, and the rest of them. What it means is that there is a burden. it is a great burden for each and every one of us, and we must as a nation or as a continent look into the opportunities that digitalization offer to each and every one of us as a nation to be able to make huge investment in the sector, because it's going to create a whole lot of employment offer for each and every one of us that constitutes the African continent. And Africa today, if you talk about net in terms of yearly growth, world population growth today, Nigeria is around 2 point something percent, 2.64% in terms of world population growth. What it implies is that we are growing at a faster rate, and the resources actually sustain us from the normal conventional offer actually being limited, meaning that we must tap into the vast opportunities. Same applicable to other African countries that I am looking into. And then you look at the unemployment rate, like as I said earlier, unemployment rate in Nigeria, you are talking about 33.3%, South Africa 27.1%, even Angola, you look at a country like Angola, 30%, Switzerland, Lesotho, Botswana. These are these are all concerns for each and every one of us. And of course, you are talking about technological advanced nations in Africa, South Africa, Kenya, Mauritius, Egypt, Botswana, Rwanda, and Senegal, and some other other countries that are listed here. They have these resources, and meaning that the government have huge stuff to do. In terms of freelancing website, for example, let me just go into freelancing website and platform where people actually, there are so many people that they are actually engaging in freelancing website today, that they are in huge amount of work. Like started, there is skill gap, or there's what we call gap in terms of knowledge base. That if, for example, you are a graduate, if you join upwork.com, regardless of who you are, if you are a master degree holder, you can be a content writer, you can be even a data analyst and the rest. Of course, like as I said, digitalization has taken over the whole, that's what we call digital disruption, taking over the whole universe. And we as youth, or we as graduates, or as Africans, we must embrace that the impact of this digitalization. Freelancer.com, Fiverr, these are platforms under freelancing that people huge amount of money day in, day out. But it was, so long as you don't have the necessary skill, you will remain unemployed, and then you keep on listing. Because most African countries, especially in Nigeria today, what they channel most of their attention on mostly is top. You are talking about to go LinkedIn, Facebook, WhatsApp platform, and the rest of which I have listed there. And then, but all these platforms, yes, in as much as it has its own advantages in terms of communication, they may not necessarily give us what we want as a nation or as a continent, because number one, we need to empower the youths. We need to empower we need empowerment. We need re-empowerment that could be able to bring transformation to the life of every other persons in the continent. And then in terms of methodology, for example, for my analysis, I actually look at I used augmented solo growth model to use as a theoretical framework for my analysis. And then the study used panel unit two tests to examine the stationarity of the disk, and then random and fixed effect is what is used. And of course, you can see the dependent and independent variable are used there to model my analysis and the rest. And at the end of the whole thing, let me quickly go to results. In terms of my results, the unit root test for my analysis shows that most of the variables, they are actually stationary at first difference and first difference, while others, they have mixture. And what it means that, of course, we can use ARD, or we can use a GMM to actually resolve the issue of heteroscedasticity issues. But then I still proceed to use conjugation. And then the conjugation shows that among these variables that I have selected, they actually have long-run impact. What it means is that unemployment and digital economy or digital economy variable has long-run relationship, that the more people embrace digitalization, the reduction will be for unemployment, and then employment will increase. In terms of the random and fixed effect, I actually use fixed effects for my analysis. And in terms the fixed effects, the first one, I examine the effect the effect on unemployment and digitalization. And digitalization, of course, the result of broadband penetration, this is INP, meaning the internet penetration, show negative decline. What it implies is it shows it shows that inflation rate, other variable, they are insignificant mostly. The only variable is broadband penetration that shows significant effect in this place, and education attainment is showing negative effect. Now, let me go to discussion conclusion because of time. In terms of discussion, by result, the research explored the relationship between digital economic and some selected African countries. And of course, there is long-run relationship. What it means is that the more internet penetration, broadband accessibility is being this in the decline will be unemployment in the economy. The fixed effects has positive effects. There is significant positive effects and inflation. And then besides educational attainment, has negative but insignificant decline in the among African countries. What it implies is that the more people are educated, the decline will be the unemployment rate. And then what do I recommend? I recommend that there is need for more investment in digital infrastructure, as it indicates that economic this in as it indicates that reduction of it will bring more unemployment. But as it keep on increases, I mean, as digitalization keep on increases, more employment are being created through various platform, meaning that government, individual need to invest more on that sector. There is need for digital skill awareness. Of course, today of recent, there's what we call MTN Foundation doing digitalization, meaning what I'm trying to recommend is that companies should do what we call CRS to different organizations. Different organizations should do corporate social responsibility by creating more awareness on the need for people, or mostly graduates, to acquire digital skills, because it's going to bring about reduction in unemployment across African countries, or across African continent as a whole. The study advocate the need for more investment in the educational sector. Of course, you look at ASU strike today. ASU has been on strike for like the past 5 months now, which is actually having a negative effect in every other thing. So digital economy, for digitalization to actually have massive impact on unemployment, and create more employment in the sector, there is need for government and individual to invest more on the digital economy, or on digitalization, or on that segment that constitute digital economy, because it's going to have a great impact on the overall performance of the economy, and also the individual. In conclusion, digital economy in Africa affects all facets of human life and job creation. This effect varies depending on the level of academic work achievement or academic attainment among the selected African countries that have used. This research, of course, it explored the relationship among 5 African countries. Proper utilization of digital infrastructures among African countries will definitely reduce unemployment rate and create more jobs for the teeming population. It will reduce social issues. Of course, we are talking about several terrorism and other social crime that are being committed today. If people are engaged with their mind positively, there is no how that we will be talking about this whole insecurity, crime, and other ideal things again. So meaning that we must be proactive and practical in terms of trying to mitigate the unemployment issues. The future unemployment crisis is doomed, is planning, is still coming because of the total population. Population keep on increasing every day, and the capacity to actually create more jobs by the government is actually limited, even across Nigeria and other African countries. You see a whole lot of migrants moving across border, illegal. If and only if Nigerian or and other African countries could be deliberate in investing in infrastructure in terms of facilities, creating more skill-based program rather than creating programs that is actually not having effect on the life of the individual. People's life will be changed, and also people will be well employed. Of course, once you have something that you are doing as an individual, there's no how that you'll be talking about crime. Poverty is actually high in Nigeria. Unemployment, poverty, hunger, inflation, and the rest is very high. But in a situation where government can create a necessary platform for even for graduates, you can test run it in terms of having a model for graduates who have graduated and there's no job. Each of the universities that have gotten university, there's need for them to create a platform for their alumni to actually empower people positively, and that will actually have a ripple effect in the economy and also Africa as a whole, across the world and the rest. Of course, we see a whole lot of e-commerce coming up every day. Let's embrace small and medium scale enterprises through digitalization. Let's embrace freelancing and the rest. Let's embrace exchange of talent, exchange in where
We have come to the end of this presentation. Do we have question? Any question from the house? Question? Well, Matthew,
man.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can
I
hear
have
you.
a few questions to ask.
Okay.
Looking from what you have presented, I can deduce that you are from economies as well. And I'm curious, what informed your choice of countries? Because I
Well,
could see from what you presented, there were like 6 countries. Why did you choose those countries?
The reason that I choose this country is because of the fact that when you look at digitalization, when you talk about population, let me start with population. Population growth for Nigeria is 200 million. My topic is talking about teeming populations. You are also talking about, you go to Egypt, for example, Egypt is having 102 million. You are talking about Kenya, for example, although with lower, but then they have what we call in terms of their IT or ICT, they are better than other African countries. Same with South Africa. In terms of Ghana, they are also trying. They are trying in terms of ICT. So I actually needed to base this argument so that I can be able to get something useful to benchmark for other countries, because these countries that are selected in terms of ICT, in terms of internet penetration, they are, although it is lower compared to other developed countries, but they are doing better than other countries.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, secondly, I could see that you have the combination from a unit 2 test, you have the combination of level and cost difference. Yet you still went ahead to conduct co-integration tests.
The reason I did this conjugation test is because, number one, and that is why I intend to use GMM to actually make the whole stuff to be robust. If you notice, I can use ARDL, of course, but ARDL will not give me my information that I'm looking for. This, and at the end of the whole thing, because of the heteroscedasticity issues, I end up using the GMM method, which can accommodate the problem which we are trying to look at it from. So I think with the use of GMM in down there, it has already offset that.
Okay, thank you. Mbulayo. Mbulayo.
She's not here.
Since nobody's saying anything, if there's no any other thing again, I think we can go. Since okay, Fumilayo is here.
Fumilayo. Do you have any question? I can see your chat.
I don't think there's any question.
There's no question. Well, do we then bring this to a close? That means we are closing earlier than
the normal time.
We're supposed to close by 4:30.
Maybe it's because there's no one presenter. I think there's a presenter that's supposed to present.
Yeah.
So meaning that there's still time.
There's still time.
We are still within the time range.
So what do you say about my work?
The work is good. I think I like the work, but it can still be better modified. You know, this work, the presentation is good for at the end of the whole thing. It will still pass through review process. If you really want to publish the work, even mine, I'm still trying to modify it. It's still subject to critiques and the rest. I've been working on it. I'm working on it gradually. At the end of the whole thing, it is when you have assembled it to the, you understand what I mean by that, and then you begin to pass through rigor or review process, then that is when you know that you have started work. I have done some.
Yes, that's when you will start rework.
That is when you have started work. But this one that we are doing here, I was actually wondering, how will I present this work? Should I just do it in form of paper or something? So there's no guidelines as regards to the modifications of the work and how best you can actually do the work. You understand what I mean by that? And then you just present your own. You are just to present this, but at the end of the whole thing, you assemble it in a journal format. Maybe you can go to Scopus or any of those journal, and then you begin to pass through rejection process, because it's going to be rejected several times, which is normal, because if you have not, even mine, there are so many of my work that I'm just like I've done that the rejection is just there, and I'm trying to review and then do corrections and send back again, because that, you understand, at the end of the whole thing. But if you don't give up, of course it can be published. Your work is good, it's publishable. Even mine, I'm still working on it. When you are asking me why did I put conjugation and the rest, like I said, this is still an ongoing work that I'm still editing and the rest. You understand what I mean by that? So it's not a final paper for publication yet, but it's an idea to test run and then to see how far I can modify, or I can get a better suggestion, or I can get a collaborator, one or two person who will be able to buy into the idea. You get me? And then we can collaborate and make the work to be better. You understand? Only single person cannot do a work or a research work. You understand the process.
Make
It's
it
not
so
really an easy thing. So it's not an easy something. When but assemble, once we have assembled with them, from there you can know what to do. You understand?
May I suggest something? Instead of
Hello?
having the scope. Hello?
Please, I'm coming. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Please unmute yourself. Hello? Hello, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. I would suggest that you extend that scope to 20, since we're in 2022.
Okay.
What you have there stops at 2019.
Is data availability that you are just talking about here, but then I'm still trying to see if they've updated, if I can still get other updated, or otherwise I will have to do extrapolation. I will have to now begin to do
Interpolation.
interpolate. You get me?
Where did you collect your data? Where did you collect your
All
data?
the old data is gotten from World Bank. The data for World Bank
They
database, and
they have improved on it till 2021. So you
so
can
I
just
will
have
go. I will
2020.
go and see rerun it. I will go out, of course. Like once I'm still on it, it's a formation stage. Like as I say, but there's no guidelines to. I don't know. I'm not supposed to be saying all these things in the public, but then, all this whole idea has not been fully clear. You understand what I mean by that? I have the manuscript which I have already started working on, and I'm still on it, and until I finished the whole process, you get me, and then submit to editors and the rest. I'm on it seriously, day in, day out. I'm on it, but I have other job that I'm working on.
It's
That
a
is
good
what
job.
is just delaying the whole thing. So
It's a good job.
even yours is good. Even yours is good. Is good. Your own is good also. It's just for us to get a mentee or a mentor who will be able to buy into their idea. You get me? Collaboration is key. You understand? Me, I'm after collaboration. If anybody who is interested in collaborating with me with the paper, so the paper will come out perfectly.
I'm interested. Maybe we'll chat after
We
this particular presentation.
we can chat after that, because the work is not finished yet. It's still an ongoing work. There's no issue.
Sure. Thank you.
There's no issue about
so we want to bring this particular section to a close, since the audio of Funmilayo is not really working. And I want to say thank you for this presentation. A word of encouragement. We should still continue to work on it to make it better. Let's keep working on it to make it better. And by the time we are done with it, we'll be surprised we have written something as good as that. The Lord will help us.
Amen.
So,
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Yeah.